What's happening in the property management world behind the scenes? And what are the trends and must-dos for 2024 and beyond? We asked Associate Directors, Matt Brace and Matt Warwick, for their take on property management. See what they have to say in this edition of Centrick Uncovered.
Hi, Matt Warwick, Associate Director of Centrick. I cover the Midlands and North region.
So Matt Brace, Associate Director at Centrick as well, looking after the service delivery for our signature schemes up and down the country.
Cool. So just some topics that we want to talk about today. So one of the questions that we've been talking about just a bit as well is about trends which we expect to have in 2024. So I don't know if you want to start kicking it off.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's going to be lots of trends throughout the year, notably, obviously, legislative changes as well. But actually, one of the big things we're seeing is a greater kind of expectation from our consumers and customers and tenants on site in a variety of different ways. Some of that is absolutely linked to technology and kind of today's world continues to evolve in terms of expectation, and ultimately, as a business in Centric, we're at the forefront of that and want to push the leading light there. So we've been doing some work to install some digital notice boards in some of our high-rise buildings, which have been really, really well received. Some latest topical information on there for them. They do have some news articles and things like that alongside as well to break up the Centric commentary, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
But it's really good platform to communicate with leaseholders with.
I think on that point as well, though, I think kind of the notice board nowadays is such a 1980s thing to have. You know, when you go to a site and you have to have a pen, which is obviously essential, then you have to sign in, and then you go back there next time and your notices have all fallen down, you know, or they've been stolen. You know, so things like this is great. You know. Yeah,
exactly, and using that smart technology so people can see us on site, they can see what we're doing. We're keeping them up to date on a visible notice board. We've got remote access via a web-based product,
exactly,
which is really useful. Yeah, you're right. I think the notice board thing of here's what good looks like, go and make it look like that, and then next time you go, because again, most often we're there every 6 weeks, aren't we? Generally, and things have changed. So it's about keeping and moving with those times. And we're trying to, so we're looking at a program working with a couple of providers around that, aren't we? Which is really excited to see where that goes this year, personally. And we're not just looking at the digital notice boards, are we, either? We're looking at other tech, and we sat down with some of our CRM provider recently and kind of have had quotes for our own app, which interacts with kind of parcel deliveries from our larger sites. So when you get your Amazon saying notification here, I'm there, or your parcel arrived, they'll get exactly that. But actually, when their concierge is taking that in and they'll have a notification on their smart app to have to do that. And that's something we're looking at.
I think probably with that as well, moving forward, it also kind of links to the intercom system. That's which we've had lots of quotes to get that done on an app. You can access your front door, the main front door. You can access your flat door on a flat. So this is something as well that in 2024 onwards, I know we're definitely looking at. We're going to have to look at further.
Yeah, absolutely. Those intercom systems as well. I mean, you see the Ring doorbells, which all have some of the houses we see around, but actually some of the video interactive natures of some of these high-end pieces of kit you can get now are really quite elaborate. Costly, it's not always on budget for those service charge budgets and whatnot, so we need to be mindful of that. But for customers that do really want them, and particularly where maybe some of our residential management companies really want a high-end type product, then that's something we can look at for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think probably another area which is, I know, something we're all kind of actively looking at is electric vehicle charging points. I think this is a huge one for which probably more you actually, I think, but it's probably for both of us. But I know it's something that a lot of our residents are asking for, and how are we going to make sure we can put that into our sites without any legal issues?
That's a really good question, because I think the carbon zero 2030 thing that's going down the path there, it's going to be really hard to deliver that, I think, and ultimately as a business, we're looking at how we can deliver.
Yeah, exactly.
What we've seen in some of the large buildings, particularly where we've got undercroft car parks, and where we're talking to buildings insurers and things like that, with all the fire safety concerns going on with some of these buildings, the remediation there, it's actually a real big sticking point for building insurance.
Huge risk, yeah.
Because of the added batteries and whatnot that are going in to feed those.
Yeah.
They're actually refusing us to put those in instances, which is obviously really challenging because it tends to be all your city high-rise schemes where you've got those nice EV cars that are driving around, the big Beamers, Mercs of this world, and actually, they don't have anywhere to park them and plug them in on our sites, and it's a challenge. And but again, it's a little bit easier on these estates where you've probably got a bit more room. Maybe I don't know if you've had any experience.
I think the thing that we found is a lot of the car parking spaces are all allocated. So, I mean, are we allowed then to just use one car park space which is allocated to flat number 1? Then does that effectively mean that flat number 2, 3, 4 can use number 1's car parking space?
Well, isn't it?
And then the billing back as well,
You then look at the lease, and obviously that contravenes the lease, and you've got deed of variation. So it's a really complex matter. And whilst new builds are now coming with some kind of provision, or is what we're seeing when we're taking management on from these developers, from new builds, the old stock, which is the vast majority of stock within the country as well here, it's not, but looking at that Centrick, it's a real challenge. And
it is.
We've spoken to a number of providers about it as well, and I know you were talking one just this morning.
Yeah, I was actually this morning on the phone. You know what? And we've got a lot of kind of companies that want to work with us to how we can overcome these problems, and that's what we will be doing.
There's an awful lot on community living and people wanting more from that, which is really positive. I mean, I don't know if Matt, if you've got any experiences of kind of anything that you've been doing and working around that.
I think probably the biggest thing for me, and as what you've said, and I've probably noticed it more in kind of new builds actually, where as part of kind of the plan and what we want to do is to create that whole living community, and I'm not saying it's just about having like a barbecue in the garden. It's not just that, but that's equally as important. But it's also about just trying to make sure that we can keep them understanding that you work together. So I think what's also great, and it links to this and what I've seen, is a lot of the new builds which we've got, they've created this area, this kind of large space where people can go to talk, and I think that's one of the things which I think is missing in a lot of the older style blocks. You literally just have the front door, corridors, and that's it.
I mean, Australia is, some of our high-rise buildings we look after and things. You've actually got some working spaces that have been built. Those newer schemes have actually deliberately got meeting rooms. They've got benches where people can work, desk type piece.
Yeah, I think it's great because it's about our presence, and making sure people know that as a company, Centrick, we're there to help and support. We aren't just there as just another managing agent who all we do is collect service charge, and serve lots of demands. That's not our role. We want to create this community feel, and we want to kind of be part of it as well.
Yeah, and it's something that your team are really actively driving. Yeah, using the portal to promote it, and I think it's really quite powerful that we're creating those spaces where people live and engaging with our customers and really getting, at the end of the day, it's their homes, it's their assets, it's their investment. We want to make them feel involved and create that sense of belonging. Ultimately, it's their home. We want to create that nice feel when you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the Building Safety Act was another curveball thrown at the industry a couple of years ago, and I think it's absolutely brought in for all the right reasons. Buildings needed to be remediated, I think, and the legislation that was brought in post Grenfell, Dame Hackett review and so on, and the consolidated advice note, caused delays, unfortunately. But since Building Safety Act and obviously PAS 9880 coming into force in terms of legislation, it's really seen things move forward, which is really positive. And we've recently had a building remediated. There are plenty more where there's really positive conversations happening now. We're talking about start dates for projects, which is great because there's been loads of impacts off the back of it, whether it be people unable to move house, sell, so on, and people. I really feel for leaseholders in all of this. And but look, I think we're in a good space there now. Obviously, in terms of regulation as well, there's lots of changes coming in around that. Building safety regulators, obviously, working those who are appointed by the HSE. And again, we have an in-house offering there, which is really quite powerful. I think I'm really pleased and proud of the product that we've worked with our colleagues in the senior leadership team.
So how do you think we've actually done it then? Like, how would you say that Centrick, we've kind of got
a really good product?
Yeah,
I suppose for me, I think it's it's really reasonable on cost. First off, I think it's really,
definitely.
really, whilst all this legislation has come in to protect leaseholders, the other challenge is that there are added costs coming out the back of it that still fall at their feet, which is really, they need to be safe in their homes, and they all want that.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about building safety managers and so on, and building safety cases, which we're required to maintain, obviously, so we can demonstrate to the regulator on these high-rise buildings that everyone is safe and the building's safe, and that reasonable measures are being taken to keep people in this.
Yeah, definitely. I think kind of on it, as what you've just kind of mentioned as well, and what I mentioned earlier, is about probably the team that we've got. And I'm not just saying this because I work for Centrick, but I definitely believe our building safety team is absolutely top notch.
Yeah, it is.
And the kind of the comments which we've had from kind of freeholders and developers and builders, it's just like, wow, I think we're completely kind of living it, and breathing it and acting on it, and then doing the comms piece.
I mean, it's really powerful, isn't it? I think we've recruited, touched on not long ago, or previous conversations that we've had. We've now got a team of 5 or 6 who are dedicated to this, and we've even got a resident engagement manager who we've recently appointed, whose actual role is about engaging with leaseholders on this specific topic. And it's about doing that and the right way, and being proactive with the delivery of it. So we've just recruited our resident engagement manager, who's doing a great job, and they're solely focused to communicating with leaseholders around residents' voice, which is required through legislation, but also doing the right thing by our customers and actually making sure that we capture all the information, but also that we're communicating everything through every step of the process, as these buildings are remediated and everyone's kept safe in their homes, really.